They humiliated me in front of everyone, but they didn't know one thing. My revenge would be silent but devastating. Let me take you back to the beginning, because to understand the full weight of what happened, you need to know how deep the betrayal cut. My name is James Harlan, 42 years old, and for the past 17 years, I'd been the unseen engine driving a mid-sized tech firm called Innovatech forward. It wasn't glamorous, no stock options, or corner office at first, but it was mine. I started as a junior coder in 2008, right after the financial crash, when jobs were scarcer than hope. I remember my first day, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, a desk crammed into a corner cubicle, and a boss who barely glanced at my resume. But I didn't complain. I dove in. Over those 17 years, I built their flagship product, Project Nexus, a cloud-based analytics tool that revolutionized how small businesses track data. I coded the core algorithms myself, line by line, during nights that blurred into mornings. I skipped my daughter Emily's first school play because a server crash threatened to wipe out a client's database. I missed anniversaries with my wife Laura, coming home with takeout and apologies instead of flowers. "It's okay, James," she'd say, her voice soft but strained. "We're building something." My colleagues? They called me the backbone. "Without James, Nexus wouldn't exist," they'd whisper in meetings. And my boss, Richard Caldwell, tall, silver-haired, always in tailored suits, he'd clap me on the back after big wins. "James, you're irreplaceable," he'd boom, his laugh echoing down the hall. I believed him. God, how I believed him. Until the gala. The annual Innovatech Gala was our Super Bowl, a black tie spectacle at the Grand Ballroom downtown, where champagne flowed like code and egos inflated like market caps. That year, 2024, it was bigger than ever. The company had just hit $50 million in revenue, largely thanks to Nexus upgrades I led. I'd been grooming for the director of engineering role for months, subtle hints from HR, Richard's nods and one-on-ones. "You're next in line, James," he'd said just weeks before. I rented a tuxedo, not bought practical as always. Laura looked stunning in her emerald gown, the one she'd saved for since our 10th anniversary. Emily, now 12, had helped pick it out. "Dad, you're going to nail this," Laura said as we drove up, her hand on my knee. The city lights blurred past, and for the first time in years I felt light. Anticipation buzzed in my chest like the first compile of a flawless program. The ballroom was a sea of tuxedos and gowns, crystal chandeliers casting golden halos over tables laden with caviar and canapes. Jazz floated from a live band, and executives mingled like sharks in chummed waters. I spotted Mark Riley across the room, 29, fresh-faced with that perpetual 5 o'clock shadow and a laugh that carried like a sales pitch. He joined 2 years ago from a startup that flamed out, but he had the gift, charm, golf outings with clients, handshakes that lingered, stories that made rooms roar. I'd mentored him once, showed him the ropes on Nexus integrations. "You're a natural, kid," I'd said. He'd grinned, all teeth. "Thanks, James." Learning from the best, Richard took the stage at 9 p.m. sharp, the spotlight catching his cufflinks like stars. The room hushed. "Tonight, we celebrate not just numbers, but visionaries," he began, his voice booming through the speakers. My heart raced. Laura squeezed my hand under the table. "And in that spirit, I'm thrilled to announce our new director of engineering, Mark Riley." Applause erupted like thunder. Mark bounded up, all grins and humble bows, shaking Richard's hand like they'd rehearsed it 100 times. I clapped, too polite, mechanical, while something inside me fractured. Laura's grip turned vice-like. "What the hell?" she whispered, her emerald eyes flashing. I forced a smile for the room, but inside questions swirled. How? Why him? After everything? The afterglow of the announcement turned sour fast. As dessert plates cleared, Richard cornered me at the oak-paneled bar, whiskey tumbler in hand. The ice clinked like warning bells. "James, solid work tonight," he slurred, clapping my shoulder too hard. "You're the rock, always have been." I swallowed bile. "About the promotion." "Richard, I thought—" He cut me off with a laugh, breath sour. "Ah, that. Look, you're solid, reliable." But Mark, he's got the edge. Young, hungry, brings that fresh energy. You're comfortable now. We need blood in the veins, not oil in the gears. Comfortable. The word landed like a demotion itself. I'd bled for this company 17 years of oil in the gears, keeping it from seizing up. I see, I managed, voice steady as code. He waved it off. Don't take it personal. Grab another drink, I walked away, the room spinning not from champagne, but from the void where loyalty used to be. Laura caught up in the lobby, her heels clicking fury. They're idiots, James. You deserve the world, not this, her anger mirrored mine, but quieter, steelier. That night in our hotel suite, sleep evaded me. The city hummed below, indifferent. The next morning, Monday, the real knife twisted. Mark called a team alignment meeting at 10 a.m. sharp. The conference room smelled of fresh coffee and fresh ambition. He stood at the head, projector humming, his tie a slash of red. Morning, team, he beamed, eyes scanning like a spotlight. They landed on me. James, love your work on Nexus legendary stuff. But let's modernize, yeah? Your methods? A bit dated. Time for agile sprints, AI integrations. Innovate or evaporate. The room froze. Sarah, my protege of 5 years, stared at her notepad. Tom, who owed his bonus to my overtime, shifted uncomfortably. No one met my eyes. Then Mark dropped the bomb. James, you'll lead the legacy support project, low priority, but crucial. Keeps the lights on, demotion, wrapped in velvet. Humiliation, served cold. I nodded, voice even. Understood. Inside, rage simmered, not wild, but precise, like debugging a fatal error. That evening, home in our suburban split level, Laura found me at the kitchen island, staring at a half-empty scotch. Emily was at a friend's, the house too quiet. Talk to me, Laura said, sliding onto a stool, her hand on mine. Warm, steady. They're underestimating you, James. That's not a loss, it's their fatal flaw. She was right. For the first time, fury crystallized into strategy. No screaming resignations, no HR complaints. Number. I'd play their game but rewrite the rules. What if I don't fight it head on, I said, the idea sparking. What if I build something they can't touch? Her eyes lit. Then do it. Quietly. Let them dig their own grave. The planning began that night, in whispers over cooling tea. First reconnaissance. I'd been headhunted by Nextech 6 months prior, a sleek competitor poaching talent, like it was Black Friday. I'd politely declined then. Loyalty, my chain. Now, I emailed their CEO, Elena Vasquez, at 2 a.m. Let's talk Nexus 2.0. Her reply came at dawn. James Harlan? Name the time. We've been waiting coffee meet at a neutral cafe. No logos, just laptops and ambition. Elena was sharp mid-40s. No nonsense Bob, eyes like laser compilers. We know your work, she said, sliding an NDA across the Formica. Nexus is gold but stale. Join us, lead the rebuild. Equity, resources, no politics, I didn't sign. Not yet. Give me time to prepare. She smiled, predatory. We're patient, but not forever. For the next 3 months, I became a ghost in my own life. At Innovatech, I was the model drone. Emails on time, reports polished, smiles for Mark's brainstorm sessions, where he doodled on whiteboards like a child. Great input, James, he'd say, oblivious. Behind the facade, I toiled. Lunch errands became shadow meetings with Nextech engineers in coffee shops across town. We sketched Nexus killers, faster algorithms, blockchain security, AI predictive analytics. I poured old code into new vessels, tweaking until it sang. Nights in my home office, I built the dossier. 47 pages, time-stamped emails, revenue charts crediting my leads, client testimonials I'd buried in archives. Proof, irrefutable, that Innovatech's pulse was mine. But leverage needed teeth. Then the tip came whispered in the break room by Sarah, guilt in her eyes. Mark's pitching to Horizon Corp tomorrow. $12 million renewal on Nexus. He's using your old playbook, word for word, Horizon my white whale, a client I'd nursed since day one. Mark schmoozing them? With half-baked slides? Opportunity knocked, velvet gloved. I move fast. That afternoon, I requested a client check-in with Horizon's VP, Carla Ruiz. Dinners, golf, trust built over a decade. James, always a pleasure, she said on the call, voice warm. We met at her club, 18 holes under a relentless sun. Midway through the ninth, over club sandwiches, I slid the dossier across. Carla, Innovatech's changing. But Nextech, we're evolving Nexus into something unbreakable. Her eyebrows arched as she flipped pages. This is damning. Why stay with those clowns? I sipped iced tea, calm. I won't, but Horizon deserves better. She nodded slow. Pitch me. Full a week later, her email. We're out. Nextech it is, if you lead. The pitch day dawned gray. Innovatic's boardroom gleamed glass walls, ergonomic chairs, Mark preening at the podium. I slipped in last, back row, anonymous. He launched into slides, flashy animations, buzzwords, my strategies. Recycled without credit. Richard beamed from the front, oblivious. Clients nodded bored, but polite. Then the door swung open. Carla strode in, power suit crisp, dossier underarm. Mark. Richard. Apologies for the interruption, Mark faltered. Carla? She cut him. Done. Horizon's pulling the contract. Effective immediately. Moving to Nextech. James Harlan's the only one we trust with our data. Silence crashed like a server outage. Mark's smirk evaporated, face crimson, then ashen. Richard half rose, sputtering. James! What the? I rose, unhurried, dossier in hand. The room's eyes pinned me. Gentlemen, I said, voice even as a baseline pulse, I appreciate the last 17 years. But it's time for an upgrade. I slid my resignation across the table, pristine, notarized. I'm heading to Nextech. And by the way, I've secured 3 more of your top clients. Acme, Vertex, Global Sync. They're coming with me. Gasps rippled. Carla smiled faintly. Mark slumped, whispering, How? I met his eyes. You called my methods dated. Turns out they're timeless. The fallout unfolded like a beautifully compiled program line by line, error-free. Within hours, emails flew. Board panic, stock dips. By week's end, $18 million in contracts evaporated. Mark? Demoted to mid-level sales, his edge dulled overnight. Richard? Scrambling in damage control meetings, his claps now echoes. I said nothing, no gloating calls, no victory laps. Silence was my scalpel. 6 months on, Nextech's Nexus 2.0 launched to acclaim headlines. TEDx invites, my name in lights. VP title came with it, plus equity that dwarfed Innovatech's best year. Laura and I jetted to Italy Tuscany Hills. No deadlines, just sunsets and Emily's laughter on video calls. Innovatech? Still patching leaks, whispers of buyouts. Me? I'm not done. Revenge isn't a chapter. It's the rewrite. But that's a story for another time. What would you do if they called you comfortable after 17 years? Hit like if this hit home. Subscribe for more.